Next, we're going to talk about Mésω on sport and inclusion. Dr. Shriver will speak about Special Olympics as a global movement that unleashes the human spirit through the transformative power of sport, through programming in sports, health, education, and community building. What I love about, we have been working for many years together, and I love the motto by saying, like, you play together, you learn together. And it's amazing how everybody wins from that. But Tim will do a great job in explaining and sharing the philosophy behind it, and also all the good feelings and all the good impact that the Special Olympics have at large. So if we can please welcome Dr. Shriver.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a teacher. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. All right. You want to get up and stretch? Anybody want to stretch? Okay, everyone have a stand up. This is a sports presentation. You can stand all the way, if you're able, stand up. Maybe to the left, maybe to the right. See if anybody in here can touch their toes. I bet there's there's probably somebody in the youth section who can do it. Welcome, everyone. I'm honored to be here. You can sit, well, you can keep standing if you want. No rule against it. I'm honored to be here. I think a lot of the presentations here started with someone having lunch with Andreas, and mine is no different from that. I was having lunch with Andreas a few months ago, and he said, this is the big question, this is the big question. Who's gonna win, the human brain or the digital brain? So I changed it a little bit to the human spirit or the digital brain, but I'm grateful, obviously, to Andreas. I'm grateful to my colleagues. Nasis Cordelis is here. I think I saw him on the camera, at least. I don't know where he was. And Vasilis Kaskarelis is also here. Gerald Mbale, who leads the Special Olympics work with refugees around the world, is here. My colleague Kate Dart came with me from the United States. So we're very grateful to be here representing the Special Olympics movement. I know you're all waiting to see the next panel. Oh, don't laugh. You know you are. I'm the sneak peek, but not the you-know-who. Okay. So the question that we're asked here in a room full of the willing, I'd call this a room of the willing in a time of division, in a time of cynicism, in a time of contempt. You're surrounded. Oh, there you guys are. There you are over there. Thank you for being here. Is who's in charge? Who's going to be in charge? When tech is in charge, we've heard it all day. It's about profit, it's about control, it's about domination, it's about efficiency, it's about convenience. Not all those things are bad, but it's often about power and profit. When the spirit is in charge, we know the story. It starts here in Greece. The question, to know thyself, the wondering, do you matter in life? Does your life have meaning? Is there some purpose worthy of your life? Do your relationships mean anything, ultimately? Do you belong? Does any of us belong in this universe? These are the questions of the human spirit. And when it comes to the questions of the human spirit, people with intellectual disabilities, you see on the right side of the screen there, have a powerful role to play. Because as we've just heard, the Declaration of Independence says all people are created equal. It doesn't say they're all created the same. And at the level of the spirit, we can see the equality and the dignity of all human beings. But at the level of technology, it's hard to spot. So the stakes are enormous as to which of these two force fields will be in charge. Not to say which one will dominate the other, but which one will be in charge. And for people with intellectual differences, people with Down syndrome or autism, this is not a theoretical question. It's life or death. Because when it comes to the dominance of technology, it quickly follows with the dehumanization of people with intellectual disabilities. The marginalization, the labeling, and ultimately even worse, the elimination from society. But when the Spirit is in charge, our community has power to awaken in everyone the capacity to believe in themselves and to believe in the dignity of all people. We've been on an adventure with this extraordinary foundation for the last several years. It's an adventure we call Play Unified to Live Unified. Andreas saw this, heard about it, and said, we're in. After a few years of work, we are now, I have to look at this, 3,900 schools. Today, yeah, exactly. Those schools all have children with and without intellectual challenges playing on teams together. That's why we call it Play Unified. So at 7 years old, or at 12 years old, or at 14 years old, you're playing football with a peer who's 14 years old, who might have an intellectual disability. And all of a sudden, all the labels start to be removed. And what do you have on the court with you? A teammate. Right? You don't have someone who's broken or defective or sad or tragic. You have a friend. These young people in those schools, almost 35,000 young people have become involved in this, affecting in all their schools over 1 million young people. So if you ask me who should be in charge, I'd say the next generation understands this. They understand the power of the universal concept of human dignity. And they're willing to play for it, and they're willing to live for it. We're so grateful to the foundation for this work. But there's a tailwind here that we don't often hear about, because mostly what we hear about is all the headwinds. Oh, there's so much disaster and politics and the economy and war. But there's a tailwind. Look at this chart here, if I can make it. I'm not here to brag about it, but I want you to see this is a snapshot of the Special Olympics movement in 2025, one of our fastest growing years in history. You see up there 80,000 games in 1 year. Almost 20,000 games increased over the previous year. Why? Because people are starving to get involved. They're looking for how do I contribute? People ask me, well, I want to be a part of something bigger. I don't want to live in the world of hatred and demonization and division. And so you see this movement, almost 1 million volunteers around the world. Not Americans, not just Americans or Greeks, Chinese and Syrians, South Africans and Rwandans, Ecuadorians, Peruvians, French and Italian, Russians and Belarusians, volunteering because there's a starvation out there. So there's a tailwind at the grassroots, but there's also support at the grass tops. We've heard discussions today about Pope Leo, who is supported by countless faith leaders at the very top of society, challenging us to protect human dignity, challenging us to remember that yes, technology can help, and surely it should, and necessarily we must try. But we must put human dignity, we must put the human spirit in charge. One leading, the other following, we got potential. The other way around, that's the disaster we're hearing about. So, I want to be practical. People are saying we have to do this, you have to do this. Here's my view. We have to do it right now. Right now, today, there are enormous health disparities facing people with intellectual disabilities. The system, frankly, doesn't work for people who have unusual challenges. Generations of medical professionals educated without adequate training to care for our people, so they die young. Not because of their disability, but because of the mistreatment and the lack of services in the healthcare system. 10 or 15 years life shortened not because of the disability, but because of inadequacy in the system, we could change that. If AI is marshaled to equip clinicians to understand and be able to use it to help with diagnosis and treatment and care, a field nurse in the most remote parts of the world could become an expert in Down syndrome right like that. An enormous potential to reverse centuries of neglect in healthcare. Same thing is true in education. Today, almost 90% of children with intellectual disabilities don't go to school in the developing world. Don't go to school. No pencil case, no backpack, no first day of school, no birthday parties, nothing. Why? Because the teachers don't have the resources, they don't have the training, and the schools aren't equipped, and people, frankly, don't think it's possible or important. AI could make a difference. We could create the concept of individualized education and equip every teacher and every aide and every mom and dad in the world with these skills. Finally, we're educating a generation, we're at risk of educating a generation that just hears division and contempt all the time. But we know we can create education that equips people to be inclusive leaders. We have the science behind inclusion. We know that it includes empathy, and we can teach empathy. We know it includes human dignity. We can teach it. We know it includes moral courage, to be brave, to be an includer. We can teach it. We could equip a new generation of leaders with the state-of-the-art work in this area. So, my view is, let's be practical, let's get to work. I don't come here, and Andreas and the foundation don't think in terms of rhetoric. We think in terms of real action. We envision Special Olympics AI ID. So aid. So AI ID. Just put another I in there. We could put the human spirit in charge of AI right now. Everything I put on that slide I know could be done within 2 years with the resources and the will. And when I hear political leaders say there's nothing we can do about it, and I hear business leaders say there's nothing we can do about it, that's bull. I grew up in a family that looked at problems and said, let's find a way to solve them. And this is one we could solve. It's not a technology challenge. I leave you with the view of Gilmore Borg, who narrates his own version of the Special Olympics World Games, which were held just last year in Turin. I know we're short on time. Here's the video. Whoop, sorry. Well, can you guys help me with the video?
$1,500 athletes, 1,000 coaches, 2,000 volunteers, and 3,000 family members, all coming right here together, ready to give everything we've got. Let me hear you, Turin! Are you ready to give your all and light up these games with your energy? Because this is exactly what Special Olympics is all about. Giving our best, being our best. Athletes, this is your moment to dream big and let your determination lead you to success. Coaches, this is your moment to push yourself and your athletes to be their best. Volunteers, this is your moment to fall in love with Special Olympics and create a new lifelong passion. Our dearest family members, this is your moment to be proud for how far we have all come. When we stand together, we never give up. Accept us, support us, give us opportunity. Let us inspire you. It is by making our voices heard that we will shape a more inclusive future. It is through our unity that we will go stronger and face every challenge hand in hand. The legacy of these games is what we do with the experience after we go home. We will not leave these competitions just as athletes, but as champions, ready for the next challenge. The future isn't just ahead of us. The future is inclusion, and the future is here.
You're about to see two of the world's greatest athletes come on the stage. I leave you finally with this additionally great athlete. This is Andreas Silla. This is her at her moment of triumph. And I love this image for so many reasons, but I love it especially because she reminds me, she's standing on the 7th place finish position. But she's free of the judgment of numbers. In my view, a role model of what it means to live from the center of your heart and to be afraid of nothing. Just herself, triumphant in her moment, having given it her all, proud of who she is. I look at this image almost every day and I aspire to the same kind of freedom and the same kind of bravery. I am sure, absolutely sure, that together we can build the kinds of systems that will super empower this kind of freedom for the future. Thank you very much.